Welcome to the Spiritist Companion Podcast. My name is Yuri Castro, and I'll be your companion on this journey where we study, reflect, and put Spiritist teachings into practice. And this is our special segment, Parable Fridays, where every 2 Fridays we explore a parable of Jesus through the lens of Spiritism. And today we're going to reflect on a very profound parable, very symbolic as well, the parable of the wheat and the tares, or sometimes called the weeds or the darnel. We find it in Matthew chapter 13, and it goes like this. The kingdom of heaven is like a man who sowed good seed in his field, but while everyone was sleeping, his enemy came and sowed tares among the wheat and went away. When the wheat sprouted and formed heads, then the tares also appeared. The owner's servants came to him and said, "Sir, didn't you sow good seed in your field? Where then did the tares come from?" And he replied, "An enemy did this." The servants asked him, "Do you want us to go and pull them up?" "No," he answered, "because while you are pulling the tares, you may uproot the wheat with them. Let both grow together until the harvest. At that time, I will tell the harvesters, first collect the tares and tie them in bundles to be burned. Then gather the wheat and bring it into my barn." I believe it's one of the most known parables of the Master and has a lot of representations here, a lot of analogies. First, we can think that the field in the parable can represent the world. The good seed is the good itself, love, virtue, and the divine potential God has placed within us. That's the wheat of the parable. The tares, or weeds, they represent evil, ignorance, selfishness, and lower passions, pride, all of that, which also grow in the same soil of the world and the same soil of the soul as well. Our Master Jesus teaches that on earth, good and evil coexist, both in the world and within each one of us. After all, as we talked about in this podcast before, we are in a planet of trials and atonements. We're still far from a planet where there's only good. So we must therefore assume that good and evil will both grow together. The Spirit Emmanuel, who wrote through the hands of Chico Xavier, he says that the world is the vast field where divine seed and human weeds are interwoven, requiring time and the light of love to define themselves. Much like we saw with the parable, where the Master was telling them for them to wait for the tares to grow with the wheat, and then they would be able to differentiate them. Otherwise, they would just try to pull the tares, and they would end up pulling the wheat, which was the good seed as well. So in order to differentiate them, they needed to be patient. They needed to wait. God, in His wisdom, doesn't uproot the tares immediately, because evil can often become the very instrument through which good learns to grow, and that we learn to differentiate what's good and what's not good. It is through living with these difficulties, these mistakes, that we can find the contrast that the Spirit will awaken to the light. It's also interesting to note that the sowing in the parable was good, so the laborers, they felt at ease, so much that they slept. Humanity has always been vulnerable to the interferences of its quote-unquote enemies. The wheat seeds were still under the soil, unseen, while the adversary or the enemy was already at work. The servant's question is ours as well, I think. How did this happen? That's what they ask. Should we pull out the weeds? And Jesus' answer is wise, because as he's talking through the master, let both grow together until each becomes distinct enough to be separated without harm. And just a side note here, the tares are a type of weed that is very similar to wheat, but that contrary to wheat, which we consume, if we were to consume tare, we would be nauseated, would be feeling very bad. So therefore, Jesus chose to use these two plants that are similar in appearance, but they have very different results when consumed. And before thinking about the field outside, my dear friends, let's look inward. In each one of us, there is some wheat, our sincere efforts, our love, our faith, but we also have some tares, our imperfections, fears, impulses not yet refined, all those things that Spiritism will teach us that are the things that we must overcome. And as we talked about before in this podcast, the true Spiritist is recognized by his moral transformation and by the efforts he makes to overcome his bad inclinations. Just a reminder that this was said by Allan Kardec in the book The Gospel According to Spiritism. And we have to notice here that he's talking about efforts, not the perfection itself, because while the spirit is evolving, wheat and tares, they grow side by side in the heart. But over time, through life's experiences, through our process of learning, we end up learning what must be nurtured and what must be uprooted. In the parable, the master of the parable asks the laborers that they wait for the harvest. My dear friends, this can also symbolize God's respect for the pace of spiritual maturity. Good and evil grow together until the spirit is capable of discerning between them and consciously choosing good, consciously choosing to harvest the wheat and throw away the tares. That's why God does not punish, He educates. Our dear Father in heaven allows the weeds to grow until the right time so that we ourselves can recognize and remove them. Not through fear, but through understanding, through the discernment that comes with experience. If we look at humanity, we'll see the same scene of the parable as well. We live in times of contrasts, moral and scientific progress side by side with wars, with prejudice, with intolerance, selfishness. But all of this is part of Earth's transition, a period of purification and renewal. The wheat represent those who strive to do good, even quietly. The tares or the weeds represent those who have not yet understood the power of love. But all stand under the same Son of God, both the wheat and the tares, and all, one day, will reach the harvest of light. So now let's go to a more practical side here. Let's reflect on how to apply these teachings of Jesus in our day-to-day lives. And I brought a few things for you here, my friends. Number one, cultivate the wheat within you. Feed your mind with good thoughts and your actions with kindness and patience. Each time you choose understanding over judgment, you're planting wheat in your inner field. Recognize your weeds without despair, because we all have them. When you notice envy, pride, resentment, selfishness, all within yourself, don't condemn, acknowledge. Awareness is the first step toward transformation. That's the first thing we must try to do. And as the author Joanna de Angelis, who wrote Through Divaldo, says, and I really like this, she says, self-knowledge is progressive liberation. Number 3, wait for the right time to harvest, much like the parable. Don't rush to pull out your own or others' weeds. Sometimes pain is this fertilizer that prepares the heart to bloom. Be patient with yourself and with others. Number 4, illuminate evil with good. Anger and resentment only feed the same vibration. They're also tares. Instead of reacting harshly, perhaps let's try to respond with love, with prayer, with tolerance, benevolence, patience, and, of course, always leading through example. And number 5, serving Christ's field, perhaps more subjective, but we can think of this one as every kind word and loving act being this divine seed sown on earth. When Jesus speaks of the harvest, he refers to the moment when every spirit matured by experience will reap the fruits of its own actions. So it's not punishment, but a natural law of cause and effect. The harvest is therefore the soul's learning process, reaping what it has sown and preparing to sow even better. The weeds will be burned, meaning that evil will be transformed by the light of understanding, by the light of love. The wheat, meanwhile, will be gathered into the divine barn, just like we saw with the parable that the Master says, know the peace of conscience in communion with God. My dear friends, the field that Jesus speaks of is the field of life, the world, and also our own hearts. There, each of us is both the farmer and also the seed. The wheat represents our virtues, the weeds, our imperfections, but both share the same destiny, transformation through the light of love. So let us not lose heart before the presence of the tares or the presence of evil, neither within us nor around us. Let us work, let us pray, let us persevere, for in due time the wheat of goodness will triumph over the weeds of ignorance. And now we reach the end of another episode of another Parable Fridays. I hope you have enjoyed. I hope this was helpful to some extent. And if it was, as always, let's spread the seeds of light together. Send this episode, send this podcast to a friend so they can also benefit from the light of Spiritism. Until we meet again, may Jesus bless us all today and always. With fraternal love, your Spiritist companion.